everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a favorites video for you guys. It's been a couple weeks since I posted a video, and I have been filming. It's just I've been filming, packing up and sorting my moving things away, so I want to get through all the rooms first before I actually upload the video. So that video is probably going to take a couple weeks because it's probably going to include all of the packing and stuff. Right now I'm just kind of organizing things, and I haven't gone through my kitchen yet, so I still have that to film, and then I'll be posting that for you guys. But today it's going to be a favorites video. I'm going to talk about all the things that I really enjoyed in May. Yeah, I'm just gonna jump into it. So first I'm going to talk about all the books that I read in May. I'm pretty sure I read all of these in May. And the only one that I wouldn't have read mostly in May would be the first one, which is Puddin' by Julie Murphy. This is I received an ARC of it from my work at Indigo Books and Music, and the book actually came out in May, and I really enjoyed it. It is not a sequel per se, it's more like a companion to Dumpling, because we don't necessarily follow Willow Dean. We're following Millie Millichuk. It's her storyline after the events of Dumpling, and it was a really enjoyable book. I had a lot of fun with it, and if you read Dumpling, I highly recommend it. I highly recommend Dumpling too, because it's really good. There's some LGBT aspects into it. There is an ace character in Puddin'. If you don't know what ace means, it means short for asexual. The second book that I read this month was Channel of Peace. This is a true story. The reason I started reading this is because I did an event where the author was signing books, because the book is about the happenings of 9/11, but it's not about the people in the buildings, it's about the people in the planes, because a ton of planes actually got rerouted here to Newfoundland to our airport in Gander, which is not even really an airport that gets used very often. It was this whole thing, and the community came together to help all of these people out. So the story is by Kevin Turriff, who is the character who inspired the character Kevin T in Come From Away, which is a Tony Award-winning Broadway musical that was kind of inspired by Channel of Peace. And I think throughout it all, the two came into life. So yeah, I really enjoyed that book. I started reading it at the event because I had never read it, and we had gotten there a bit early, so I was like, I'm just gonna start reading it, check it out. And I ended up getting a signed copy, which I loaned to my mother, which is why I don't have a physical version to show you. The next book that I read is actually two graphic novels. It is volume 1 and volume 2 of Runaways, the Brian K. Vaughan volumes. I started reading those because Rainbow Rowell is actually the new author for the new Runaways, and through talking with some coworkers, they recommended me reading the Brian K. Vaughan ones before I started reading Rainbow Rowell. So I read the first two of the Runaways. I need to borrow the third one from another coworker before I can read the Rainbow Rowell ones, but I'm really enjoying them. They're a whole lot of fun, and I highly recommend them. The last book is probably my favorite book of the month, and that is Leah on the Offbeat by Becky Albertalli. I have a signed first edition of it, and this follows Leah, who is a character that we met in Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda, or Love, Simon, if you know it from the movie. And Leah is his best friend. They don't really mention a whole lot about Leah's backstory in Love, Simon, but we find out in this book that she's bisexual. She's actually plus size, not quite as thin as the movie portrayed her. And I think what I really enjoyed the most about this book is I felt very connected to Leah. She felt like who I was in high school. But I really enjoyed this book. I know there was a bit of backlash about a scene in here about Leah patrolling someone else's bisexuality, and as a bisexual who was once a teenager, I can understand her getting offended in the context of the scene. Mostly because, or not offended, but patrolly or controlling of the bisexual. Because you can't, everybody's use of the word bisexual is completely different. And I can go on a whole nother video. Actually, I should do a whole video about this. But yeah, I can understand why the scene was put in there for the reason, because we have to remember this is a teen novel and these are teenagers we're discussing. So they're going to be a bit more critical of people sometimes, I think. So those are all the books that I read in May. Next, I'm going to do listening because I have a few things. So first I want to talk about is podcasts. I've recently started getting into podcasts. I've been listening to podcasts for a couple months. I would say that I slacked off a bit in May, but I didn't do a favorites video for the previous months, I don't think, so I'm talking about it here. My favorite one is My Favorite Murder, which you've definitely heard of. If you haven't, you should go check it out. It's with Karen Kilgariff and Georgia Hardstark. 13, stop it! And basically it's just them talking about murders that happen around mostly the US, but the world in general, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. I also really like Rebel Hearts, which is by Sam Mazza, I think her name is, and it just talks about women in the music industry. She's a huge Paramore fan, and if you're going to start with anything, if you know Paramore's newest album, After Laughter, you know that there's a song called No Friend on there. She actually does a line-by-line discussion of the song, and it's really put the song in a new view for me, so I highly recommend that episode. And the last last podcast I want to talk about is Getting Curious with Jonathan Von Ness from Queer Eye, and I mostly listen to this one when I'm going to bed because his voice is just so soothing. So I highly recommend that, especially if you've watched Queer Eye. If you haven't watched Queer Eye, I highly recommend you do. Next is music. First off, Prozac. Not the medication, the band from Europe somewhere. I'm not exactly sure where they're from, but I purchased tickets to go see them, as well as Aqua and Wigfield, who does the song Saturday Night, and Sexy Eyes. And there's going to be an old-fashioned Much Music video dance party. If you aren't from Canada, you probably don't know what that is, but basically Much Music is kind of our version of MTV. And they would go to high schools around Canada, and they'd have this huge video screen, and you could go and request videos to be played, and it'd just be like a dance party with videos, and it was so much fun. We always had a huge blast at these were like the one thing that would come to my high school, and we were all so like excited about it. So I'm really excited to go and see all of these like younger self bands. When it got announced, my younger self was like screaming, and then when I got my tickets, my younger self was screaming. And it's on a beach, I'm pretty sure, so it should be a whole lot of fun. Next is Owl City's new album, Cinematic. It just recently came out last week, I think. I also have tickets to see him in Toronto. I have liked Owl City pretty much since Fireplace came out. I absolutely love the song, and I love that like synthy, spacey. He's just very good at creating atmospheres with his music, which is no surprise with his new album, Cinematic. It's all about how life is a movie, as long as that's how you view it. And I highly recommend you check it out. I think my favorite song would be Fiji Water or July 5th, although Cinematic is very good too because there's lots of like puns and stuff, and there's this one part right at the end where it's like, the force is with you, and I'm like, yes, I love this. The next one is just a single, and it is the new single, Give Yourself a Try by the 1975. I don't know a whole lot of songs from the 1975 other than their singles, but I've been seeing them pop up a lot because of all this build-up with their new album. And so when this new song came out, I decided to give it a listen, and holy smokes, I am obsessed. It's so good, and it's such an uplifting song because it talks about getting older and not really knowing who you are, but just giving it a try anyway. And the last thing is definitely my favorite album since After Laughter, probably. I listened to the whole thing at least 50 times since it came out, probably more, and I would say it's my favorite album of 2018, and that is Love Is Dead by Chvrches. Love is Dead by Chvrches. I will admit, I'm not a huge fan of the cover, but the album itself is just amazing. I had to get the beautiful translucent blue vinyl. It's just I've heard some critiques from coworkers that they believe it's a little too radio-like, and I will say, yeah, it's quite different, or it's a little different from their other stuff, I will say. It's very politically drawn. The first song, Graffiti, really starts it off and hits you really hard. It's about school shootings. If you listen to the lyrics on this album, there are really deep and dark topics in amongst this happy dancing music, and it's definitely gives me After Laughter vibes, especially with the fact of this song too. This is a instrumental kind of interlude between Really Gone and Wonderland, and the placing of it gives me No Friend vibes again. It doesn't quite have the lyrics of No Friend, but it's definitely, I could see if maybe they were inspired. But yeah, I would definitely recommend checking out this album because it's, in my opinion, it's absolute perfection. Next is TV and movies. I have 2 TV shows and 2 movies I want to talk about. First show is Twin Peaks. I've started watching it forever ago, stopped, forgot my spot, decided to go back and just watch from the beginning, and I finally got through it. I got through the original 2 seasons. I watched Fire Walk with Me, and then I watched the new season that came out last year, and holy smokes, I still don't understand, and I never will. From what I understand, David Lynch has no intentions of ever explaining the show, because at the end of it, normally when a show ends, you're like, oh, I'm gonna have some closure. No closure. David Lynch is like, oh, you thought you had this figured out? Nah, you don't know anything that's happening with anybody at the end of the show. And they bring in new characters in this season too, and there's no new season. It's just that one season. So there's 2 seasons, a movie, and then a 3rd season. That 3rd season that's it. So I'm just gonna be left with questions for the rest of my life. I do want to read some of the books because I'm wondering if they'll give me a little bit of insight or some understanding as to what happened throughout the show in its whole. Next, once I finished Twin Peaks, I decided I was going to go back and continue watching Supernatural. I used to watch Supernatural. I'd say I started maybe halfway through its first season or at the beginning of the second season, and I really enjoyed it. And then I got up to season like 6 or 7, and that's when the show went really downhill, and I just gave up. After a few conversations with a coworker who is a huge Supernatural fan, she convinced me to go back and can push through and continue watching. So I did that for a little bit, and then I stopped again, and now I'm back continuing on. I'm currently on season 11, so I just have 11, 12, and 13, and then I'll be caught up for 14, so hopefully I'll be able to do that before September. The next 2 are movies. The first one is The Quiet Place. That is the John Krasinski movie. You know Jim from The Office? Yeah, him. So he wrote and directed this amazing thriller where the monsters in it, I guess they can't necessarily see you, but they detect you with sound. So you have to be silent as possible. And when you start this movie, it's kind of like there's time jumps, but they've clearly been dealing with this for a while right at the beginning of the movie. So I knew this was going to be good, but I didn't expect it to be as good as it was, because it is the first movie that has forced me to have horror movie dreams in a very long time. The reason why I didn't like watching horror movies when I was younger is because it would give me dreams and I would be put in those movies. Well, this happened again with this movie. Basically, in my dream, I'm in Newfoundland, and the outbreak is starting here. It's like an origin dream. So I'm running around after seeing The Quiet Place saying, I know what to do. You shut up. Telling everyone to basically shut up. And I'm running through the woods trying to get to people to tell them to stop, to be quiet. And I turn and I see, I can't remember his name, but he's the kid from Stranger Things. He plays Mike. He also plays Richie in It. He also, as I found out after having this dream, is in Supernatural, which is funny because in the dream, I literally turn to him and say, are you in everything that's creepy? And then 2 days later, I'm watching Supernatural, and there he is. Just in a creepy episode of Supernatural. So yes, he is in everything that's creepy, apparently. The last thing in TV and movies is Deadpool 2, because I did go to see Deadpool and it was amazing. I had good high expectations for this movie and they met them all, which I expected. I would have been very disappointed if I came out disappointed, but Ryan Reynolds just does no wrong when it comes to Deadpool, and I'm so excited for the next movie. I could have easily gone back and watched that again. And the last, I guess, section I've just decided to call life stuff because it's like a mixture of a lot of things. First I want to talk about is this Neutrogena Purifying Deep Clean Clay Cleanser slash mask. I mostly use it as a mask. What I do is when I'm in the shower, after I've put conditioner in my hair, I'll usually put this on my face, and then I'll wash my conditioner out and wash my body, and then I'll just wash this off and it'll be dry by then. It doesn't get too dry because it is a cleanser, so it doesn't make your face like rock hard, but it does harden up a little bit, and my face has definitely, it's nice to have like something to clean my face with that isn't necessarily like just a wash. It's nice, and it smells good, and it's green. That's how the beauty gurus do it, right? Next is coffee, and it is the President's Choice Nitro Black Cold Brew Coffee. So it has a nitrogen charged widget inside, so when I pop this open, it does like a fizz. I got into this because a coworker recommended it to me, and these are, I think they're about $2.50 a pop, which is about half the price of one of my Starbucks drinks, less than, because my Starbucks drinks are between $5-6. But I can easily make this. Actually, that's what I've been drinking all morning and yesterday. So basically I take one of these, and I have a Starbucks cup that I usually use, but I left it at work, so I've been using this. I just pour one of these in, it fills it up about halfway, and then I fill up the rest with milk. If I have sugar, I'll put sugar in it. I do want to find a sugar substitute, I think, maybe honey or something, because I don't have any sugar in the house, and I haven't had a craving to bring it into the house. So that's a thing. So yeah, these are really good. It's a really good Starbucks alternative, especially if you're into cold brews or iced lattes, like I am. The next is a pair of clothes, and I would wear this to show you, but again, I'm too lazy. I'm also thinking about doing a full, like, what's in my closet haul, because I have what they call a, like, hold on, my mirror is, okay. My closet is very condensed. I have only about 40 to 50 items, I would say, but my favorite item so far this summer is my overall shorts. I bought these from Blue Notes back in April, and I have this shirt that I've worn a lot with it. It says Power to the Ladies, and I just love it. It has lots of pockets, especially this one. I have Paramore and Lights pins pinned to it to give it some flair. And yeah, they're super comfy. They have rips, and I think it's gonna be like my staple outfit for the summer. I also have shorter, like, crop tops that I want to wear with it. And the last thing I can't actually physically show you, I'll just hold out my PlayStation controller, and that is because I have started playing Overwatch. They had a free weekend a couple weekends ago, and I started playing it out of a friend's recommendation, and I immediately became obsessed. It's such a nice, I guess, way to let go at the end of the day, especially if it's been a hard day, or if I, like, just want to, like, chat with friends, because that's what we do. We literally just hang around on PlayStation and chat with each other and shoot things. So it's a lot of fun. We'll sometimes stream it, so if you want to check that out, then follow me on Twitter, because I'll usually post when I'm streaming, or Mike will usually tag me if he's streaming, because he also streams. Yeah, or if you want to follow me on Twitch, my handle is xxbookworm91xx. so you can check me out there as well. But that is it for my favorites. This is a very long video. Hopefully I'll be able to kind of cut it down so it isn't 20 minutes long. But let me know down below if you liked any of these items or if you recommend any other items to me because you think I will like them based on these items. I will see you next time. Bye!